All right, we are live. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today with another FOMO Friday. Excited to dive into the markets today. I have with me Bits of Wealth, William, and Nat. We'll see if Bad Price is able to join us later today as well. Anything that we discuss here today, it's not financial advice, it's purely for educational purposes. We're just going to draw some lines, look at the markets, and have some fun with it. I do see we have William from Wolf Crypto back with us today. He was gone last week. He had a little baby girl. William, how are you doing and how is your family?
Everything's great. Yeah, no, everyone's healthy. Everything's great. I'm exhausted, so sorry if I like ramble on today, guys. I'm so tired. I'm getting used to my new schedule, my new life. But
Y-
yeah, it's great. Everything's fantastic.
Awesome. Well, welcome back. We are excited to dive into the markets today. Let's get right into it. We'll start with Bits of Wealth. I'm going to go around and share the streaming link in all of the communities that I'm in. Bits, take it away. How are you feeling today? What's going on in the markets?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Dude, it's so fun. Like, we need to have a whole. I'm gonna hit you up separately. We need to talk about kids and minivans and all the good stuff. We'll start a separate show.
There we go.
Just
Kids
for
and
that.
minivans.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I mean, no pressure, but sounds like you gotta take this crypto investing trading thing a little more serious, man, or something. I don't know.
The pressure's on. The
The,
pressure's
the
on.
pressure's on. Yeah, no, it's good stuff, dude. Here I'll pull up a chart real quick while everyone's kind of getting set up here. Look, BTC had a really nice move. Lady Trader and I were kind of grabbing some shorts off of this little area here. They were just, they were short lived. Volume wasn't quite there. You had to TP pretty aggressively. Um, and it was kind of, it was signaling that you're going to get a big break here. I was wondering if the break was down or up. Looks like we ended up getting it to the upside. What's interesting is this move, man. Even though this candle here looks pretty bearish, it actually came short of the previous week high, so we didn't quite touch last Wednesday's high, which is interesting. Um, I'd like to see that level taken out. If I'm going to be looking for aggressive short positions, I want to see that high from last Wednesday taken out. Um, we could also be entering an environment where we pump a little bit more. I think when was it? Monday, maybe on the stream with Monday. No. It was Wednesday because I don't think we did a Monday one. But we were talking about there's a 3-month VWAP that's a little bit above here. There's previous month highs up here. 74.5 is also previous year low. So there's a lot of levels for BTC to the upside. If you start looking at liquidity heat maps like on Market Monkey or CoinGlass, there is still a little bit to the upside. There's still more to grab to the upside, but you do get to a point where unless it's going to put in like a major move, you have taken quite a bit of it already. So yeah, we'll see what comes here for BTC. Biggest things I'm really watching is from like a monthly or even from the quarterly, the 3-month chart. Let's zoom into this one. So essentially, for us to get like a macro reversal on BTC, here I'm actually going to clean this up even a little bit more. Here, I'm going to remove. We don't really need the gentleman's suite for this, and it'll make it a little more clear. In order to get a macro reversal where we go back to new all-time highs, you'd really want to see BTC close this quarter, which only has 18 days left in it. You want to see this quarter close above the previous quarter low, right? So we need to see it close above 80,600 on this Binance chart, which is why I put out that tweet yesterday, or that poll, right? That was asking like, can we close the month above 80,600? If we do, close the month, next quarter could still pull back a little bit. You could still have a little bit of a move down, but it should not go below these current lows. And the draw for the market in that case for liquidity is to the upside, and we probably would be looking for some kind of major move back near these highs. So as crazy as it is, because there's a lot of reasons why we should still be looking lower from a timing perspective, from a bunch of different reasons we should still be looking lower. But again, if this quarterly chart closes back within the previous quarter, things could get interesting for a move back to the upside. So, but right now what we're seeing basically is because this month did not close within the prior month, all you're really getting here is you're getting a pullback into the previous month. And a lot of times these pullbacks, if you measure this, like the body, if you measure the body of this previous candle, right? Like we can do that here. So this is the body of the previous candle. You can see that we're just getting about a 50% pullback on BTC into that prior month. Like it wicked just above the 50%. It's now currently below 50% again. So yeah, I mean, this is all pretty standard. I'd like to see this wick taken out though, right? From last week, which is what I'm personally looking for, is I want to see a move above that, probably into this gray box that I have here, which would mean that move needs to be somewhere between 74 to about 76 or so. And if that happens, and then we end up closing and moving back down below, really and that would need to happen on a weekly basis. So if we get that, sometime by the end of this week, which there's 2 days and 7 hours left, then I think the rest of this month is going to be moving towards the downside, because ultimately, since this month didn't close as any kind of bullish reversal, you're still going to see the trend is still down, right? So ultimately, even though this sweeps up here, maybe you get that weekly close like we're talking about. I think at that point, though, the draw is to the downside. Very good chance that this monthly close is going to want to go below previous month low, which is that 5960K low. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. Other than that, plenty of scalp opportunities here, but yeah, I think there's a potential for maybe one last little push up here. And look, I mean, I think I gave the alpha pretty much in terms of I'll have to go and find where that picture is, because I had a picture, but I can't remember what I did with it. There was an image. I don't see it anywhere in here, but it was the Mexican pointy boots. And that's what you're getting here. These are Mexican pointy boots, and it's going down after that. So, yeah, we'll see. That's all I'm seeing on BTC though. Keeping it simple. I want to see if we still get a sweep above. Right now, this, in my opinion, is just trying to trap early shorts and potentially some late longs up here. And look, if we're talking about impulses, right? One of the things that Ash, who we've we have on Wolf Spaces quite often when he's available, and then also I stream with him at least once a week. But he counts these like momentum waves up, and we've only really had two in this structure here. You can see back here you had first one, right? Then you correct, second one correct, and that was your third and final push, right? And then you had your corrective structure here, and we've only so far had one big push up correction. This is that second push up. So this could be correcting, and then there's that final push up still coming sometime this weekend, and then boom, that starts the move to the downside. So yeah, this to me feels like there's still one more. There's still one more. This is probably going to chop down, and then you should see another push up, even if it just barely comes out above that. But that's kind of what I'm looking for on BTC. Some of the other stuff, I mean, I will say Ethereum basically gave the move already. So ETH, all the same criteria. Like if you go out to quarterly, if you go out to monthly, if you go out to weekly, ETH did everything that I was talking about that I'm waiting for BTC to do. And ETH actually took out previous week high already. So ETH is actually kind of front running everything. So in my opinion, even if ETH has one more push, it doesn't really need to go that much higher, if higher at all. ETH is kind of signaling that it's probably done, even though it's really only had, again, same two moves. Maybe it has one more, but it could be a little truncated move, and then we see that draw to the downside. And then we're just looking at these lows, at least to start. Same with BTC. Initially, I'm just kind of looking at these lows here. Depending on what it does there, because if it catches a bounce there, comes back up, then there could be still a lower high that needs to be put in before the big move to the monthly lows. So we shall see. But that's pretty much what I'm watching. All the other ones are kind of doing the same thing. I'm going to watch the same thing on Solana. I want to see a move above previous week high, previous year lows right there as well. So it's like, same thing on Sol. You had the first First big move, corrected. Second big move, correct it. Do one last one, sweep all of this, then send it lower. So it'll pretty much apply across the board. Just go out, zoom out, find your weekly, monthly, quarterly ranges, understand where your previous week high is, look at previous year lows on a lot of these, and you know, get a plan together, basically.
Love it, Bits. Anything that you want to go over as far as the stablecoin dominance goes?
I mean, I could touch on it briefly, but it's you know, we were watching this, and I think if you know, if Bitcoin is still going to do one more leg up, then here I'll zoom into like a 4 hour. Well, even on the daily, you should be able to see it. Then essentially, what we're looking for here is potentially just a sweep of this, right? So I don't know how deep it could go a lot deeper than I know, Lady Trader, you're kind of looking like down here somewhere, right? Like, and I get it. There's a lot of structural reasons why I would go that low. But if Bitcoin is only going to sweep that high and Bitcoin is not, like, because, okay, so we know that there's a potential for BTC to go as high as, you know, up here, like high 70s, maybe even 80K. Like, yes, it could do that. I don't know if we're going to extend that high, though. If stablecoin only needs to sweep this low here one more time, and then it goes back up, then BTC is not going to go significantly higher. BTC is going to just maybe go 76, 77 at most, and then it's going to roll over. If this thing goes all the way down here, then yeah, we're going to be in the 80s, potentially mid 80s for BTC if this were to roll this deep down. So it's kind of hard for me to imagine this going that far down. I mean, down here, you might even be talking about like close to 90, and that, I think that'd be a little bit outside of what I'm expecting. So I think we're potentially just getting a sweep of this low here, which was last Wednesday's low, and then you know, if it can do that and it comes back into the range, then I'm looking for stablecoins to head higher, which means BTC is putting in that last push up, right? And that it could just be somewhere in here in this gray box where I'm kind of looking, and then that's that. Because they're just gonna be inverse, right? Like, this is on the low time frame. Stablecoin and BTC do look very similar. Like, when you're looking at these on a 4 hour, they look almost identical when you invert them. Like, this is BTC basically, right? Like, when you look at BTC, look, here's your stablecoin, right? So essentially, if I'm calling for BTC to just sweep and then go higher, then stablecoin needs to just sweep and go higher as well, right? So
yeah. Makes sense. You know, Bits, one thing that I would say, just from the Wolfpack gang, I guess a couple of people who are watching for potentially BTC going into 80s. One is North Star, who's calling for, I think, mid 80s. And then we have Black Widow, who's also thinking will probably hit 80s. So there are definitely a few people in our who could see it going. BTC
and it could, right?
Yeah.
That's where like this 3 month chart, and I think that's why it's so important to have that level in mind, because if in the next 18 days BTC is in the mid 80s, you're likely to get a 3 month close back inside the previous. But that here's the risk, Lady Trader. If those people are correct and we do get that, then the low is in. The low is in for now, and we're going to go back to all-time high based on that turtle soup 3 candle high time frame fractal. There's no reason, in my opinion, for BTC's price to get reacceptance into the previous quarter's range. Why would it do that unless it was going to trade back at previous quarter range? And if it's going to trade back at previous quarter range, that range is 80K to 126K. So if BTC is going back above 80 and we get that close up there, then we're saying that there's a chance that it's going to be back at all-time highs again.
Yeah. So what do you think of the quarterly? Like, I could still see it kind of like the next quarter hitting that 80 just to fill the gap and then rolling over like 80.5.
As long as it doesn't close above it, I'm okay with that. If it goes up and then it ends up closing below it, then it was just a fake out. But if we get that close, if we close the quarter back above 80.6, then I think there's the chances of a move to all-time high increase a lot for me. Like, I really start to look up there.
Yeah, Ichimoku's showing the same thing. I was going to say bits around that price range as well.
Yep. Yeah, because then you're also closing above like March highs. Like, this is a huge level you really don't want to it's like basically saying, the market's going to say, yeah, you know what, we're okay with paying higher than 80K BTC again. We think that's fair value once again. And then so you open up that range once again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. I don't think it's going to close like the quarterly is going to close that high.
Right.
But I think next quarter it could retest that as well, which again would be in line with if we were to get a couple of monthly green candles here, which we are way overdue for. We have not seen a monthly candle like since the last 5 months. So monthly green candle is something that we need.
Yeah,
All right.
so we've got like 18 days. A lot can happen in 18 days. In 18 days, you could pump to 80 and then pump back to 70 in 18 days. I mean, a lot can happen in 18 days. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Anything else, Fitz, before we go to William? I see that he has his charts up as well.
Hand it off. Yeah, hand it off. Here, I'll
All right.
Sweet. Yeah. Let me know if you guys can see that. Perfect. Yeah, this is my very pale chart. I'd like to make it grayed out, of course. I do like the black backgrounds, but I like to fiddle around with it. So sorry if it hurts people's eyes. There's my Ichimoku setup, though. This is the daily on Bitcoin, similar to what Bits was saying. I do think we're kind of done with this move here. As you can see, that's just like a nice clean rejection on the cloud right here. As we talked about in the past before, these clouds tend to act as resistance and support levels when price action is happening below or above them. As you can see, we had a fake out before here. So something similar, something akin to what's happening here is happening right now, I think, at least. That being said, I did actually take a long position yesterday based on smaller time frame Ichimokus. So I'll go ahead and show that on the 12-hour here. We actually broke out of the cloud on the 12-hour. So I went ahead and took advantage of that and basically took profit, already closed out. Nice quick little scalp. But the reason I did that is because this lagging span, this yellow line here, broke into the cloud as well. Alongside the fact that we, basically broke out, kind of retested in this little area here, like fiddled around here a little bit and then broke up here. So I went ahead and opened a scalp long, already took profit on it. Because of the glaring chart that is the daily here. Obviously, like right here, we have lagging span breaking out of price action, which is another bullish indicator on Ichimoku. We have the conversion line over the baseline right here. All bullish indicators right there. Obviously, this cloud being the biggest bearish indicator outside of the 200-week EMA, which is right here, which we're still way, way far below. If you zoom out on the weekly, you can see this too. We are still just in like massive bear territory. As you can see, we had this massive drop here. I showed you guys like weeks before as well. We bounced off the 200-week EMA right there on the weekly here. And then there's just this massive cloud about to form, I feel. And like there's all this price action right here that we have to kind of make up for and reach to get out of. Like we basically need to do something along the lines of that. Maybe we spiked up super high in the short term, like Bits was saying. Maybe we have this massive rally to past all-time highs. It's totally possible, but I just don't really see it. Ichimoku is not telling me that that's what's going to happen. So all in all, I'm still pretty bearish. I think we are just based on the daily here. I think we are set to go lower. Like we've talked about before, this might just be a quick fake out here. Though if we do pump in the near term, I do suspect we could reach somewhere around 80,000, like Bits was saying, just because that's the top of the cloud right here. We have this like 79, kind of 80,000 range at the top of the cloud. So I could totally see Bitcoin kind of putzing around in the cloud here, and then hitting that 80K number, and then being swiftly rejected. Which would not surprise me. So overall, I'm just scalping. Obviously, overall in here, I'm not taking any long-term bearish or bullish stances. But if I was to be a betting man here on the long-term effects of long-term indication of where Bitcoin's going, I'd say bearish, definitely downside moves there. Something else I was looking at that's really interesting is Circle. So Circle stock is, for those that are unfamiliar with trading stocks, watching the stream, it is a publicly traded company on traditional financial markets. So yeah, you can buy this stock, that this company that creates USDC. The guy's buying USDC here. So as you can see, we've had this just horrible price action since inception. We had this massive blowout, this massive IPO, and it shot like so high right here, as you can see. I think it went up to like 200%, something like that. Let me see here. Yeah, about 150, 160%. Yeah, cool. So I actually gotten on the IPO on that and was really lucky with that one. So I did let go of my position since, though, and have not re-entered just based on how horrific this price action has been. This is the daily Ichimoku chart, and as you can see, we have just nothing but downside, downside, downside. Been below this cloud and just kind of trudging along. But something shifted. They had a really good earnings report, I believe, a really, really good surprise earnings report. And all of a sudden, they broke out of the cloud right here. It was just like clockwork with Ichimoku. Like they ripped into the cloud, broke out of the cloud. We had that blue line right there crossing the red line, which is the conversion line crossing the baseline, a bullish thing, a bullish indication, and lagging span right here, this yellow line breaking out through the cloud as well right here, which are, again, more bullish indicators. Something I've been kind of hesitant on about getting back into this, though, is this price range right here. So we have this blue range that's like a basically just a marked resistance level. It was a support level we broke through there, as you can see. It has since turned into a resistance. So I'm not convinced this move is long lasting until we push out of this zone. And so I'm not even bothering with this one until I see some maybe retests happening, some consolidation, and then a break out of this zone. And then I'll probably end up being long-term bull on Circle stock. But I just thought that was an interesting move to point out that Circle had like a massive rally here from where was that? One day being at like, $62 and now it's up 90% or up 86%. So I think it's pretty interesting. There's some other ones I'll point out later on, but those are the two I wanted to primarily talk about before getting into the DPIN talk later on. So I'll go ahead and pass it off. Lady, I don't know if you heard me.
Yes, I did. I was talking to myself. Sorry about that.
It happens. It happens. Were you guys tracking Circle or no?
I was not personally. I don't know. Were you tracking it, Bits?
I've been watching it, but I don't have I've been following it, but I don't have a live or active position right now. So, but it was one that we called at the lows though. So the play was I think Nat, you remember when I called it out, and I think it was Popeye that I kind of told him like, hey man, pull it up. Like I don't care if you don't want to look at it right now. You're gonna look at Circle because it was interesting. And this was
honestly, I see the comment there. I just wanted to reply to the comment on the screen there. Honestly, it's because the like original setup for me has just worked out. Like I've heard about changing my settings to that. There it says B on my screen. I'm not sure if I can read the rest of his username. I can't see it, but I've heard of that setup. I've never tweaked Ichimoku. I just use the default settings, and it's worked out very well for me. Like it's made my trading much more profitable. And so I'm kind of like of the mindset of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's where I'm at. That's my mindset on that one. So, but I have heard of changing to those exact numbers. I have seen that. So that's just my reasoning.
Makes sense. Thank you so much, William. I see Nat has her screen up. Nat, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I can't hear her really well. Can you guys hear her?
It sounds like you're driving, Nat. It sounds like you're like really far away.
Can you guys hear me better now if I speak like this?
Yes.
Are you in like a hallway?
Yes. No, I thought we were. No, I'm using the same headphone setup that I have.
That's so interesting.
I wonder if you know what, Nat? Look here inside a StreamYard, down where the little mute button is. Click the little arrow next to it, and just make sure that it's on the correct mic because it sounds like it's picking up like maybe like the default computer mic or something like that, and not like the headset.
Okay.
So down.
Can you hear me better now?
Oh yeah, there you go. Got it. Yep.
Okay.
Check.
Thank you, Bits.
Bring it up. Thank you so much, Bits. We'll go ahead and add Nat to the stage right here. Nat, I have your charts up.
Oh wow.
Take it away.
That's a chart right there.
Yeah, so what I'm showing right now, this is the Kiyotaka platform. This is Binance. If you input BTC, USDC, you'll be able to get what I'm looking at right here, which is the liquidity levels. This is actually very, very interesting on BTC, USDC, right? Because we're seeing we have a little bit of liquidity here in here. So 73, 74K. And then we have some at 75.3 and 79 and above 80K. We have this big pocket. If we're able to like somehow bounce on this, get all of this liquidity and bounce on it, this will put us into like the high 80s, 88, 89. And then we have another big pocket here with a little bit here at like 72,900. So let's call it 73. There's some build up there, but nothing too major. But I think we covered this last week as well on FOMO Friday, all the way up to like 102. It'll be very interesting to see what BTC does, right? It looks like we got some of the liquidity here. And if we do go ahead and break above, I don't know, 77, there's a little build up there. 76, 77. I don't see if we get closes above those, I don't see why not, 80s. But at the same time, there's just all of this down here. All of this down here. And I believe we touched on this as well last week, where we have all the way down to 34,500, 33,607, a slight build up here. What is this, 29, I believe? Yeah, 29,600. These are just like the liquidity levels that I'm seeing on BTC, USDC on Binance. See, this one is really bright. It says 89,600. So this is very interesting. But if we look at the chart, right? I wanted to bring up the BTC. This chart that I'm looking at, the weekly here. Let me just share it, because one thing that I did notice is actually quite interesting. Let me just stop sharing this, and then we share the screen I'm looking at, so that way you guys can see it. It is actually very interesting here. Okay, so if we are able to break above these levels, this one we rejected all, right? So 73.99. Then we have 77, which is in line with that liquidity over at Binance. I don't see why we wouldn't retest this level here. And this would put us at the mid 80s, right? So 83, 84, 300. Do you guys remember when we were talking about the possibility of a short squeeze? I wouldn't rule something like that out, right? The funding rates are also still negative, right? So what are the chances that we don't even close there, right? We just wait there and then continue a bounce all the way down, a reversal all the way down, right? Because it gets very interesting. We have 48 here, and then we have 59,799. But I wouldn't rule out a bounce to just like revisit this area, 83, 84K, not even a close, right? But just like a retest. And then we continue on the move down, right? Because the other thing is, as well, is, and I'll share that screen, on Market Monkey Terminal, on Coinbase, there is a lot of liquidity that's been building up as well. And I'll go ahead and share that so you guys can see what I am talking about, because it's very good if we kind of just like visualize it as well here. And then I'll zoom in on it. So this is Market Monkey Terminal. These are the liquidity levels, right? But if I zoom in, look at all of the buildup here, right? These are big areas. This right here. See, this right here is big. There's another buildup right here.
Yo, I need to set up my charts like this. Nah, this looks like cyberpunk style stuff. Like I feel like I'm playing a video game watching this.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
cool,
need this.
right? It is cool. And look, there is like a small little buildup here, but it's flowing. It's flowing. This is 54,998, right? Side, there is some. We're trying to get to it, right? This is 74,800. This is what I see on Coinbase. Now, I know Bits of Wealth mentioned that on the 1 hour on Binance, there is more to the top, but then that would be in line with what we shared on Kiyotaka. But this is, to me, is very interesting because, like I mentioned last time, right? You see how there's liquidity up at the top, there's liquidity below. We dance between them, and we do like this fake move to the upside where we go ahead and grab some of that liquidity, and then we just nuke. Biz doesn't want us to use nuke, so I'm gonna say we sell off, right? Based on everything that's going on, we sell off. So we sell off, right? So then at the same scenario now, and I just can't get over this pattern, right? We have liquidity at the top, these big yellow lines down below, same as the colored lines that we had here, right? And I wouldn't rule out a scenario in which we go grab some of that liquidity, maybe 77, 78. And if we really wanted to, for emphasis, maybe on the top of the line here, 82, 83. What is this? Yeah, 83.6, which is in line with that with the EMA's crossing. We just wick there and then continue down, right? Because there is just a lot of buildup. And if we look back at the same colors, right, the thick buildup that we're seeing here, and we just went towards it, we went around it. So then I wouldn't rule out the same thing happening here, right? Because the pattern is just very interesting. I can't, like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So that's one thing that I'm constantly looking at. I'm constantly asking myself, okay, if the bottom is in, and if we're not going to, if we're just gonna go straight up from here, then we're going to be leaving all of this liquidity here untapped. And that means we're going to be leaving all of the liquidity on Kiyotaka that we saw heading down all the way into the 30s untapped as well. Right? Even if I zoom in, the more I zoom in, you see, the more I zoom in, the stronger these lines look. This is 60K. And then if I click here where the yellow line is, that's 58,583. And then if I click here with that line is, that's 57,998. I mean, it is very, very interesting, right? Because again, I wouldn't rule out a scenario in which we do something similar like we did here, where we were kind of just dancing in between the liquidity and did this fake move to the upside, where we grabbed some of it here and then just went on this downward spiral, right? And then we recovered some. And same scenario that we saw here, look, same structure, just dancing in between the liquidity. So now do we go up a little bit more, tag this, maybe even this one that's standing out a little bit, 80K, and then just continue the spiral down. The same distance down here, down. We'll put it at like 50K, 49. That I wouldn't rule that out, right? Because again, if we're saying that the bottom is in, that means the liquidity remains untapped. And I have not seen BTC not take out the liquidity. But what makes it very interesting is that the liquidity on Binance, because we're seeing it all the way up to like 103, with big areas in the 80s and in a slight buildup at 93. So hence my thesis on maybe we do go up and hit that area. Here, let me just share my screen again, so that way you guys can see what I'm referencing. I'll share my trading view screen one more time, because if we go ahead and get that liquidity, it'll put us right back to that area of that breakdown, right here again. It's 84, 83, 84. Maybe we even catch the tip of this, which is 82. I wouldn't rule out something like this happening before we start seeing the next leg down. Because like I said, I've never seen BTC not get the liquidity or leave that much liquidity down below, right? Maybe this is the first time it happens. I'm not ruling things out, right? Things work until they don't, right? And we're seeing how the Bitcoin has been following the liquidity time and time again. Could this be that one time that it doesn't? Could it be that one time that it deviates from it and completely goes on a run to all-time high? I wouldn't rule that out either, right? But based on the structure, based on the pattern, based on history and things that we've been seeing, the chances of us getting that liquidity down below, in my book, is a little greater. But I think BTC has also shown us the importance of keeping up an open mind. Now, for us to go a little bit higher, I would have to see closes above 86K on the weekly, right? Obviously, we start closing above 86K on the weekly, 86,678. Then I'm looking at that 90. If we start breaking above 90 and closing above 90, then I can see us hitting a new all-time high here and possibly above. But for right now, my thesis remains, okay, we go a little higher. If we do get that volume and that strength that we need some kind of follow through, I wouldn't rule out a wick at this level, between 84 and 85K. And then we continue our descent, our way down, and kind of hit all of these pockets. This is my area right here. 25, between 25 and 35, 35 to 25K, anywhere between here. 25K being the bottom zone, 25 100. But that's really what I'm looking at. I mean, can this all change, right? Can we go up and tag this line before making a way down? You know what? That's also possible because we are due, and I think Lady Trader mentioned it as well. We are due for a few green months, right? Right, or a few green weeks. So do we get the next green candle that opens above here? It kind of just ranges in between here again, and then the third one will put us like right here. I wouldn't rule that out. This will put us in line with the liquidity on Binance on Kiyotaka, right? But then again, even on liquidity on Binance, when we're seeing USD, USDC, there's still a lot within these ranges, right? All the way down to 39. And if I zoom out even further, we get into the 20s, right? So it wouldn't be completely off the rails, right? But I guess it really does depend what we do here. I think it really depends on how the weekly closes. Because if we close up at the highs, I wouldn't rule out the next one just going right above it and giving us that nice range in the high 70s, maybe tagging 80s, mid 80s, and then going back to get all of the liquidity that it left behind, right? So that, I guess at the end of the day, for me, it really does depend on how the weekly close in order to gauge it further. But if we are going to get the liquidity that's on Binance, it'll be more to the upside. With Coinbase, if we are going to get that big liquidity pocket, it'll be down at that 60K area.
Love it. Thank you so much, Nat. I'll go ahead and share my screen as well. Let's see if I could bring this up. All right, here you go. So I'll start. Okay, I'll start with weekly. So I'll point out something that I brought up before this particular price action right here. So this one, we had a very, very similar thing that happened during 2022 when we had a retest of weekly 200 EMA, price went up, and this is basically the structure that I want to talk about right here. We had a green candle. Basically, it went up a little bit, then retraced all the way down. And then the next candle went up quite a bit, like very, very close to the top, and then retraced all the way down. And we could see it closing under that 200 EMA. And so we have a very similar pattern here, right? We had this big candle here, which did not really go over this, right? This is like a big candle that trapped a lot of traders because when they saw something like this, of course, that's the dip buying moment for them, right? And so we have a lot of people that are trapped at these levels. So now we have this candle here, and then we have this candle. So what I'm watching is to see how the weekly closes. Is it gonna close green? Because if it does, then what I'm looking at is potentially a retest of the 68K, which is your 200 EMA, and then this to become support. And then we try and make a move up, right? We're not gonna go too high, but we could potentially find a bounce off of that 200 EMA. But if it closes red on the weekly, then that's going to be an issue. That basically means we are going to go lower, right? So weekly candle close this week is going to be the key. Definitely watching that one. And then on the daily chart, we haven't really changed anything. So we remember this range from the first week of February still intact. Nothing has happened here. It's amazing how we could see it, right? That there's going to be a range for a while that Bitcoin is going to be in, and then maybe it's going to take out the high range and then maybe consolidate there for a little bit and then crash. That's a possibility if it didn't crash already here. We also had a daily 50 EMA that it went up a little bit. And so now it's basically, as you can see, it kind of it did find that reaction, right? It was basically the resistance was held up here. So this is another one too. Daily close this Friday, like today, is also going to be the key. We're going to be watching how this candle closes. So that's really what I'm looking at. When we talk about the upside, I mean, of course, you have this level here, which is going to be a major level. And then you also have the daily 800 EMA right at about 81.7 right now. These are moving averages, so they're going to probably move and maybe even be a little bit lower, right? If we do consolidate here a little bit. And so it could go as low as maybe 80K or something like this here. So by the time the price gets up here, it will already be a little bit lower. And then, of course, you roll over off of that. I don't see it going above this, even if this one is like a stretch. So definitely watching, seeing where it actually goes, right? If it does end up here, maybe this will curve over to this area, which will also be your previous resistance or previous support, which now is going to act as resistance here. So these are going to be some of the levels that I'm watching for potentially positioning myself for a short opportunity. So there's that. This one right now, like I did mention, we could argue that, you had the higher lows, right? You're having higher lows right now. And this one, you could also argue that was a higher high. And so we'll have to see how this candle closes, right? Is it going to find, is it going to reject here and this was it? Or are we going to try and get above this one? Because if that's the case, then of course, we're going to be targeting some of these upper levels. But again, weekly candle is going to be the key. I want to go to the hourly chart because this was actually a trade that we did take, right? We had these little weekly setup here where we had a little W, we had 3 pushes to the upside, right? So 1, 2, and 3. And then on this third push, we also had the 3, 1, 2, and 3. And so what usually happens is after that kind of a setup, usually you get some sort of a correction. Now, one condition would be it corrects and it continues to move lower, or it resets and then it kind of gives you another 3 levels off of that. So that's what we are seeing right now. We saw this basically. So I was in this trade. I did talk about it as well. This was a trade that we took live. I think our entry was like somewhere around here. And we did catch this move. And it was actually pretty significant, right? So it was at least 2 to 1. And then I did mention in the group that I took some profits and also initials were out pretty quickly. Did take some profits off of this as well, and then basically I did change and basically move my stop loss a little bit above that, and then it was of course taken. But again, the trade closed in profit, and then of course right now what we are seeing is a pretty significant move to the upside. We went very very close to this one, did not take out the highs fully, and now as you can see, this is a pretty significant move as well, and this is like your significant this trade also, like Bits of Wealth, your favorite trade, right? You have the green momentum candle and then kind of this very aggressive red candle, and it's basically also giving some confluences with the volume as well. So you had this rejection here. So right now, just watching. I'm not in a trade currently, just trying to see where this is going to go. 4 hour is also looking very interesting here, right? We have this pattern here potentially could hold. It all depends on if we could get below this one as well, right? If we don't, then of course we can continue to make the move higher. I am watching though on M15. There are now quite a few levels that are going to be of interest to me. So this one here is going to be an area, right, for a potentially a breakout trade right here. So I'll be watching this one. The other one is this, right? This is going to be another breakout, which I've called out already that when we get here, it's going to have it. It's going to give us at least a 1-to-1 trade with your stop loss is going to be here. So I'm watching for some of these breakout trades that we could get into potentially. This one as well. And so we'll see where it goes. Right now, this is also 200 EMA on M15 is also a major level. So this is to be watched as well. But we've already created some patterns off of this. So we'll see. The next level to watch is also going to be this one, 69.6, potentially for a little bit of an upside before we make our way down further, if that's the direction that we're going to go. So watching for all of this, just being cautious. Bits did mention that if we were to get on quarterly, if we were to close above, right, in 80s, which I don't think we will on quarterly chart. I think quarterly chart going to close red. But if we were to close green and then potentially make to the upside, that's not going to be a super good news, because it's going to show us that price is acting differently than what it has in the last few cycles. And so, and it's not going to be necessarily a good news either. It just shows me that, okay, now we are potentially looking at a multi-year bear cycle, because this one is still intact, right? As long as this one is not broken, we are still looking for a bearish price action. So what we need to do, what we need the price to do, is to quickly go to this level here and then find support and bottom out. Because if that doesn't happen, then, if we are still struggling here a little bit and it's in the middle of nowhere, right, within this candle still, that means potentially a multi-year bear cycle. So it's going to be very interesting. Like I said, multi-year bear cycle is again something that I have on my watch list, right? I'm hoping that we find a bottom at the end of the year, like we always do for the bear cycle, for the bear year, right? But there's a small possibility that it doesn't happen. And I did mention it, that I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned about what the price is going to do next few years. So we'll be watching this one, right? Especially with everything geopolitically that's happening in the Middle East and everything else. Just a lot of stuff that's happening right now, which could drive some of these things. And then also capital rotation happening. Definitely check out North Star. He talks about it a lot. And then I was also told there's something happening which I don't know anything about, so I'm still looking into that, is 18-year real estate cycle. So I need to still research that topic, but there's a lot of capital rotation, a lot of fundamentals that are basically going to be all tying in together. So it's going to be very interesting next few years for sure. But that's really what I have for Bitcoin, right? Overall bias still bearish. It doesn't matter what happens over the next few weeks or next few days. We are definitely overdue for a green month. We have not had a green month in the last so many months, right? So we had 5 red months. And this has not happened since 2018. And so we definitely need a couple of green months, because that's going to give us a nice little healthy correction to the upside, a corrective move, and then we can position short, and then of course target these lower levels here. So that's really what my take is for today.
Lady Trader, do you believe, do
Yes.
you foresee a scenario in which we wake up to like the middle of that range? Like mid 80s, like 83? Not close, but just wick, based on like the strength and volume that we can get in.
I mean, we can go, I don't know if you're going to go to like 83. I mean, it has this one, right? This little EMA, which hasn't been retested. So, yeah, but I mean, if that was to happen on the daily, what I would anticipate is basically a move that is to the upside, right? And you're basically going above this one. So maybe you chop here for a little bit and then you make above right here. So 83. And then, yeah, I mean, this is going to be very similar to the Solana trade that we had, right? So Solana had a very, very similar pattern. And actually, this is what I drew. This was like, man, so many months ago. It's funny. But basically, this one, it didn't really go above this 800 EMA. It's on Coinbase chart. I think it did on some of the others, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Binance. Yep, on Binance it did. So it did go a little bit above that 800 EMA before it crashed. So we could potentially see that. The only issue that I'm seeing though is for Solana, it did take out the liquidity here. So it was a bit of a healthier move, which is why Bits and I were like all about buying Solana, because it took that liquidity out and then it was making the move up. So we were more comfortable with that. So with this one, with this liquidity still intact, I don't know. I mean, what's the thing that this is like, how it's really, it's all dependent on how the weekly closes. Like we could still crash today and close red, in which
Yeah.
case we'll be like, all right, what's the next move, right? And it will give you that M pattern as well on daily. So yeah, I guess we'll have to watch and see. But this could happen, right? It could play out. I mean, if we were to make a move up there, but man, if we were to get up here, I'll be looking for like selling everything and shorting. Selling a
Me too.
farm. Yeah.
Sell it all.
Really, really awesome. Sell it all. Sell it all. Big short, right? The big short. I'll be Dr. Michael Burry right there. But yeah, let's see how the daily closes and how the weekly closes. But this is very similar to what we saw with Solana, minus the liquidity sweep, which has not happened. So it's that.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely going to come down to the weekly closes. That will tell us more.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. All right. That's really all I have for BTC. So I'm going to go ahead and sharing my charts, and we'll go to the room and get any final takes that we have from our team today. Um, Bits, anything that you want to bring up before we end our call today?
No, I would just emphasize, I guess, that weeks like this, days like this are great examples of why we need to have a plan. We need to have some type of framework that you're following, and you need to have something predetermined for price levels to the upside and price levels to the downside, so that you know what your plan is when you get to that. Because if not, emotions will betray you. In the moment, you'll be feeling bullish, you'll be seeing green or red, and you'll be feeling bearish. Like, in the moment, you're gonna lose track of what you were supposed to do when price went there. So yeah, just I think this is a perfect example of it. Like, if you didn't know what your strategy is before we got this big pump, what are you likely doing now? There's probably a lot of people that are trying to jump into longs up here, and price is now pulling back. And then if it has one more leg, you're going to see a lot of people jumping into shorts, and then it could probably squeeze them. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Overall, I think this market is starting to separate those who are trying to really just kind of push a narrative and fake it till they make it, if you will,
Yeah.
versus people who are, you're humble enough to admit that you don't really know what's going to happen, because we don't have a crystal ball. But you're willing to lay out a framework that says, well, if this happens, this is what I'm doing, and if that other thing happens, then that's the other thing I'll do.
No, absolutely. Love that, Bits. Thank you. We'll go to William next. William, any final thoughts or comments or anything that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, no, everything that's been said here has been just absolutely incredible. Honestly, if any of the listeners or viewers are not following all of y'all up here on stage, they need to be 100%. These guys are just spitting constant alpha out. If you want to share my screen really fast, I'm sharing it right
Yeah.
now. I do want to like do a little deep in shout out. So I just actually was on a call with these guys on Tuesday on a space with my buddy Deep In Connection. He does a Tuesday space where he has different D-pins on every now and then, some founders, some engineers, etc. And they'll talk all things, their project, and kind of do a little deep dive. And I knew about these guys before, but I didn't really know the depth to which, like, how far along they were. Let's just say that. This is Spexy. So Spexy is a decentralized aerial intelligence platform. All that means is that they're basically drone mapping. They're a drone mapping D-pin. So anyone in North America, I believe it's only North America currently, but anyone with their Part 107 drone commercial license, that's the only people that are actually allowed to do commercial work with drones legally in the States. So you have to have that Part 107 license. But basically, anyone with that license, they can actually participate in this network. And these guys don't pay in a network token; they pay in stables. They pay in USDC. They're about to start paying in USDC. So they right now pay with Stripe. But yeah, they have these missions basically. So you go on their website, you can look up how many missions they have and sign up for these missions. These across the country. And these missions will have you go to a different hex. Maybe there's a hex out in the woods or something that, like, hey, we need to map this section that a customer of ours wants this mapped out. Like, this data is very valuable. And so you just basically take your drone out there, and it goes on this autonomous flight, like, on itself. Like, once you download the software and, like, link your drone to the network, it'll fly itself. Essentially, all you gotta do is be there, be present. Watch it for safety and everything like that. But once you do that, they pay you, I think, anywhere from like $50 to $100 in stables each time you do that, each mission. So I think that's just incredible. A great little opportunity there if you're looking to make some extra cash on the side for basically no work, which is really, really cool. And they have a lot of upside. These guys honestly have a ton of customers. The data is super valuable. And the reason being is because all this visual data they're collecting, all this mapping that they're collecting, right now, like, most of the world is mapped out, I would say, but it's super low res. It's from satellite imagery. It's from, aerial imagery. So the fact that you can get closer to the ground, like with a drone, with like a really nice camera, and get like really detailed, and I mean detailed Gaussian splat images of all of these different landscapes, all the different elevation, etc. That data is extremely valuable to a lot of interested parties. So I just wanted to shout these guys out. They're not planning on launching a token, but Layer Drone, as you see in the banner there, that's a partner network of theirs. They are planning on launching a token. So I believe Layer Drone facilitates the transactions that Spexy is doing with their clients, I believe, among other things. And so Layer Drone plans on launching a token at some point. I'm definitely going to be looking into getting some allocation to that. But I just wanted to shout those two guys out, Spexy and Layer Drone. Keep your eye out for them. Keep your eyes on them. If you want to earn some USDC and you have a drone pilot license, like I said, go ahead and sign up for that.
That is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, William. Always coming up with deep and alpha. We appreciate that. Ned, any final thoughts or comments from you?
No, I think Bits hit it on the head with what he said. I think it's important to have a plan, whether we see a little more upside or this is it and we continue to the downside. I think it's at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how the weekly closes, because we've seen time and time again and week after week that the weekly does say a lot and it prepares us for the next move. So that's one thing I'll be looking at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. This was an awesome FOMO Friday show. We will be back again next week with Self Wealth and the rest of the crew. Hopefully, we'll be able to do another FOMO Friday. The midweek, we may have to cancel next week. There is a big holiday coming up for me next week, so I'm looking forward to that. So I may be out part of the week next week, but hopefully we could do either a Monday or a Friday, FOMO Friday, or both Monday and Friday. So we'll be back again next week with lots of alpha. Stay safe out there, everybody, and sending lots of peace into the world, right? No matter where you're located. Hopefully everybody's staying safe and happy. And let's catch some moves in the market next week. And also going into the weekend, stay safe. Let's see what happens with Bitcoin, how the weekly closes. We'll be watching all of that. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate your support. I hope that you're able to repost the stream because it is being recorded so people can go back and watch it. And hopefully they can benefit from what was said earlier here today. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.